Hello everybody, this is Dark Ninja, and today I'm going to be talking about the rotation mechanism and the improved aiming unit in World of Tanks. I'm going to be explaining roughly how they work, and I'm going to be explaining some misconceptions about both of them actually, but especially about the rotation mechanism. So basically, a lot of people think that the rotation mechanism is essentially just a mini V-stab, which you run on like tank destroyers or autoloaders in order to decrease their bloom. Now, the rotation mechanism does decrease bloom somewhat, and in general, and it's most effective at decreasing bloom after firing. So, for example, if you're in a Barask, you shoot, the rotation mechanism will decrease the bloom on your second shot, so that your reticle will not poof outwards as much after you take your first shot. So you can, it takes less time to aim your second shot. But what a lot of people don't realize is it doesn't actually provide much of a benefit at all to your bloom and to your dispersion for your first shot. And that's because people think this works like a V-stab. They think that, as it says here, minus 15% to dispersion during vehicle movement and traverse, as well as during turret rotation. They see that, and that's like the same description as a V-stab gets. And so they assume that they're getting better bloom while using a bounty or regular rotation mechanism on their tank destroyers, for example. And that simply just is not the case most of the time. And the reason why is this second part here. What the rotation mechanism also does is make you turn faster, and this accelerated turning will actually have an impact on your bloom negatively as well. So they kind of cancel each other out, because the quicker you turn your turret, for example, the greater your reticle size will be, the greater your bloom will be, essentially. Now, I kind of made this video all stemming from MaxFPSGaming's video on the improved aiming unit, which he released recently. So he made a video where he's kind of dissing the improved aiming unit, which, fair enough. I mean, it isn't always the greatest piece of equipment. I certainly don't pick it on most tanks, except for some tank destroyers and possibly some autoloaders. But there were some things that I think he missed in this video. So in this video, he was showing off the Grill 15, and he was comparing improved aiming unit with rotation mechanism in particular, kind of. And he was talking about how the benefits of improved aiming unit are you're not going to notice them basically because they're very small, because the grill already has great accuracy, and I think that's a somewhat fair argument. But I think one thing which he did not mention in this video, which I think lends credence to the idea that the improved aiming unit is actually good on tanks, even if they do have very good full aimed accuracy, is the fact that the improved aiming unit actually decreases your bloom, as well as decreasing your full aimed accuracy, which is something he did not mention. And so I made this comment here. One thing I think you're missing is that improved aiming unit also decreases your bloom because of how the bloom equation works. And this is one thing that a lot of people don't know about the improved aiming unit. Let me make sure this is actually on screen. Yes. It actually decreases your bloom at all times, not just when you're fully aimed. It doesn't just increase your full aimed accuracy. And the way it works is, it's kind of complicated, there's some math involved, but basically what you need to know is your bloom is calculated, the bloom calculation, there's a variable, your base accuracy level is multiplied by bloom factors. And so the better your base accuracy is, like your fully aimed accuracy, the lower your bloom will be. And so what this essentially means is, on something like a Grill 15, which has terrible moving bloom, when you turn the turret side to side or you move the hull, the reticle just explodes. And so the improved aiming unit also helps with that, which I think is very important on something like the Grill. And so Max, I think he acknowledges this. I don't know exactly where the comment is, but somewhere around here. he says, but then, okay, so I said, I was basically saying you could use, if he's basically saying if you want to make the bloom better on the grill, then you could just do what I'm doing and run a rotation mechanism instead, because the rotation mechanism will improve your bloom. And here's where I describe, I don't believe rotation mechanism is good as aiming unit for reducing dispersion even on the grill, which has terrible dispersion factors. And so I decided to actually put this to the test because he kind of doubted me, as you know, other people probably would, because people think that the improved rotation mechanism is like a V-stab. And so what I decided to do about it is do some rigorous tests and figure out once and for all, is rotation mechanism actually like a V-stab, and how does it compare to improved aiming unit when it comes to controlling bloom? And so what I did is I went into a training room, and here's what I did. So I'll go to the start here. I made 3 different video clips. One, and the tests I did, as I'll show you now, is I played a Sheridan with the derp gun. I used the same exact loadout all 3 tests, and I did 1 test with no equipment on the Sheridan, 1 test with only rotation mechanism, bounty rotation mechanism on the Sheridan, and then a 3rd test with only bounty improved aiming unit on the Sheridan. And I wanted to see what the bloom would look like after I did 1 full turret rotation, because that's just the easiest way to test it. So here you see what I'm doing. I was on Himmelsdorf in the same exact position, the same exact lineup in all 3 tests. I aimed for this 3rd brick to the right on this wall. My tank is positioned in the same exact spot. And this first test is with no equipment. And I'll just show you what I did to test this. So I zoomed out in the first level of sniper mode to keep everything completely consistent. And then I just turn my turret at maximum speed. And then I line up my aiming with that exact brick. And then what I did is on the very last frame, so this is in a video editor software, and on the exact frame where the circle meets my aiming reticle, or whatever it's called, right there when they meet each other, I take a screenshot of my entire screen from top left corner to the bottom right, making sure everything is scaled exactly the same in all 3 tests. And then I wanted to compare the size of this circle. So here's no equipment, and I'll show you the 3 pictures that I got. Let's see if I can find them. Okay, so here's no equipment. Pay very close attention to the circle size. This is the last frame. Here's bounty rotation mechanism. So as you can see, the circle gets slightly smaller. And then here's improved aiming unit. Much smaller than rotation mechanism. So I think that this is good evidence that this is actually true. Improved aiming unit is actually better for bloom in general than rotation mechanism. Even on tanks which have horrendous bloom, like a Sheridan with no V-stab, no nothing on it, except for food. And a stock 100% crew, no crew skills or anything, and it's still better on this tank. So yeah, I'll just show it one more time. No equipment, rotation mechanism, improved aiming unit. And that's basically all I have to show. Now, I think in order to like definitively prove that this is the case, experimentally anyways, you would have to test more tanks and with different setups. But I actually have already done that a long time ago. And the only reason why I tested the Sheridan again is because I wanted to make absolutely sure that I didn't mess something up the first time and that it actually was true. So I'm gonna pause real quick. So I actually a long time ago already did a test of this in the Batchat turret turn test 360 degrees. Let me move my webcam. And as you can see, I tested, at the time I was testing V-stab, rotation mechanism, and fire control system, because I wanted to see which was better, rotation mechanism or fire control system for the bat jet. And I also had a control group which had no equipment at all. I recorded the times. I recorded how long it took to aim after the turret had fully turned, and then on the first frame where the aim circle met the reticle or whatever, I recorded how long it would take for it to be fully aimed. And if you look here, the no equipment control group took 4.06 seconds to fully aim. The V-stab took 2.75 seconds, which is absolutely insane because, you know, it's not a 25% reduction in aim time. It was like 40% or something, which is, I don't exactly know how that works, but V-stab, as should be no surprise to any of you, is the best if you want to decrease bloom. But, you know, some tanks can't run it, or some tanks want to run V-stab plus another bloom control equipment. But look at this, though. Bounty rotation mechanism took exactly as long to fully aim as no equipment did. It literally made no difference on the bat jet whatsoever. And so it made no difference to the aim time, and by extension, I think it's fair to say that it made little to no difference in the bloom size, because decreasing the bloom would have decreased the aim time, is at least how I understand it. And if you were wondering, fire control system is somewhere in between V-stab and no equipment. It's like 3.36 seconds. So I already knew this back then, but I wanted to confirm it. Now there is something I still want to talk about rotation mechanism. So I've kind of covered, like, it's not a V-stab. I've covered how it works roughly, how the aiming unit works, but there still is a time and a place to use a rotation mechanism, and I don't think necessarily that it's bad on the grill. That's not the point I'm trying to make. I just think that Max was kind of downplaying how good aiming unit is, which is what I prefer on the grill. But where is rotation mechanism actually useful? So first of all, its primary purpose is not going to be for bloom control, although it does seem to have a small effect, at least on tanks with terrible bloom. It's just going to be on turning speed, which, you know, isn't necessarily useless, for one. And the reason why is not just because, you know, you can turn faster and escape quicker or something. It's also useful because what it does help with is getting your gun on target quicker, which will allow you to start aiming sooner, which in theory should allow you to, even though it won't decrease your bloom, since you get your gun on the target quicker, you can be fully aimed on the target sooner. So I still think it has a use, for sure, even on the grill. And as I said at the start of the video, the other very useful case, in my opinion, the most useful case of the rotation mechanism, is for autoloaders that fire quickly, like the Brask and the T-57 Heavy, because what rotation mechanism does 100% actually decrease your bloom after firing, which is super useful on quickly firing autoloaders. Now, I didn't figure this all out on my own or anything. The first place that I actually heard about this, about the rotation mechanism and the improved aiming unit and how they work, is from this document here from Overlord Prime called Ultimate Gun Mechanics. You can find it on Reddit. I'll link it in the description. It goes into a lot of math, and I didn't even fully understand all the math either. I just kind of looked at the graphs and got general ideas about how things work, but this document basically covers a whole bunch of things in World of Tanks and a bunch of its mechanics. So if you're interested in that, please check it out. Now there's just one more thing that I want to address in this video, but because I already know some people are going to bring it up. By the way, this is the position I use. I just tapped R until I knocked this post, and then I know that I'm lined up, and I just line myself up with this fence. People are going to be thinking, okay, you're overlooking something obvious here. There's something affecting your results, and that's the fact that as you turn your turret, your reticle is jumping up and down. Isn't that going to affect your bloom? Like, it should seem obvious that that's affecting your bloom. But the answer is actually no. It actually has no effect on bloom whatsoever, which is something that I only learned recently, like in the past year, again from Overlord Prime's document. But as you can see, I move the reticle side to side. The reticle blooms outwards. However, vertically, watch this. The reticle stays the same exact size. As long as you go perfectly up and down, it actually doesn't change in size at all. There is no vertical bloom in World of Tanks at all. So you can literally just go like this, and you'll be perfectly accurate. Like, you can be aimed at the ceiling and shoot downwards. So yeah, don't worry about that affecting the results. That's not something that would affect it. That's basically all I've got for this video, though. Please let me know Please let me know down in the comments what you think about the improved rotation mechanism, or the rotation mechanism versus improved aiming unit choices on different tanks, like, you know, the Batchat, the Barask, the Grill, the T-57 Heavy, tanks like those, other tank destroyers. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I missed something or overlooked something in my tests. Because if I did make a mistake, then I would like to know so that I can actually look into it again. But that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.